The invitation never came, and Daniel felt it before he understood it. It was a quiet absence, like a chair pulled away from the table without a sound. Days passed. His phone stayed silent. No message, no call, no casual excuse. He told himself weddings were messy. Plans changed. People forgot. But his chest tightened every time he opened social media, half hoping and half dreading what he might see. On a warm afternoon, the photos appeared. White roses lined an aisle he had never walked. Golden lights blurred into soft halos. There was Lena, his younger sister, standing in a bright dress, smiling the careful smile she used when she wanted to look brave. Beside her stood Adrian, tall and composed, his hand resting on her back as if it belonged there. The caption was cheerful. Friends commented hearts and blessings. Daniel stared until the screen dimmed. He wasn't invited. Not to the ceremony. Not to the dinner. Not even to the small gathering after. It wasn't an accident. It was a choice. Memories rushed in without permission. Lena at 12, hiding in his room during thunderstorms. Lena at 16, asking him to teach her how to drive because she trusted his patience. Lena whispering secrets late at night, promising he would always be part of her life. Daniel had believed those promises because he had kept his own. Now, he felt like a door had closed between them, locked from the inside. He tried to call her. It rang once, then went to voicemail. He didn't leave a message. He didn't know what to say without sounding wounded, and he refused to beg for space in his sister's life. He told himself to wait, to breathe, to let the hurt settle. It didn't. 3 days later, the video surfaced. It wasn't clear at first. A crowded room. Loud voices. Someone laughing nervously. Then a sudden movement, sharp and unmistakable. Adrian's hand came up. Lena's head turned. The sound was dull, not loud, but it echoed in Daniel's ears as if it were close. The clip ended right after, like the person filming couldn't stand to keep recording. Daniel's stomach dropped. He watched it again, slower this time, searching for context, hoping to find something that made it less real. There was none. Lena didn't shout. She didn't fight. She froze. That hurt more than anything. The comments poured in beneath the video. Some people called it stress. Some called it fake. Others blamed Lena for arguing, for embarrassing him, for pushing too far. Daniel felt heat rise to his face. He shut the app, but the images stayed. The wedding lights, the careful smile, the sudden turn of her head. He understood then why the invitation never came. Adrian had always been polite to him, too polite. He spoke in calm tones, chose his words with care, and smiled as if smiling were a rule. Daniel had noticed small things before. How Adrian corrected Lena in public. How he answered questions meant for her. How her laughter faded when he entered a room. Daniel had warned her once, gently. She had brushed it off, said Daniel, worried. Too much, said love required compromise. Now, the warning felt useless and late. Anger settled into Daniel's body like a weight. Not loud anger. Focused anger. It sharpened his thoughts and made his hands steady. He paced his apartment, replaying moments he had ignored. The way Adrian once joked about teaching respect. The way Lena stopped sharing details about her life. The way the wedding happened without him. Daniel realized the worst part wasn't the video. It was knowing that something had been wrong for a long time, and he had been pushed out before he could stop it. He tried calling Lena again. This time it rang longer. She didn't answer. The city outside moved on. Cars passed. People laughed. Notifications buzzed. But Daniel felt stuck in a single moment, caught between what he knew and what he feared. He imagined Lena alone after the video, facing whispers, excuses, apologies that sounded like reasons. He imagined Adrian explaining it away, his calm voice smoothing the edges, his image carefully protected. Daniel's thoughts shifted, fast and dark. He thought about consequences, about exposure, about how easily a clean reputation could crack if pressed in the right place. He thought about justice and how often it came only when someone forced it into the light. But beneath the anger, another feeling grew. If he had been there, would things be different? If he hadn't been shut out, would Lena have felt safer speaking up? Daniel didn't know, and the not knowing burned. He felt betrayed, yes, but also afraid. Afraid that his absence had cost her something she couldn't easily get back. Night fell. Daniel sat by the window, the city lights reflecting in the glass. He played the video one last time, then turned his phone face down. He made a promise. He didn't say out loud. Whatever it took, he would not look away. Not again. The invitation had been withheld. The truth had not. And in that moment, as anger and love twisted together inside him, Daniel understood that this was only the beginning. Daniel stopped sleeping the way normal people did. Rest came in short, shallow pieces, broken by thoughts that never slowed down. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the same frozen moment from the video. Lena's face turned away. The room going quiet. He would sit up in the dark, heart racing, anger burning clean and sharp in his chest. During the day, he moved through life like a stranger. Conversations blurred. Work emails went unanswered. His mind stayed locked on one question that refused to let go. How did it reach this point without him knowing? He replayed every visit, every phone call, searching for signs he had missed. The more he thought, the clearer the pattern became. Adrian had not rushed Lena into silence. He had guided her there slowly. Daniel remembered dinners where Adrian spoke for Lena, laughing when she tried to interrupt. He remembered how Adrian framed control as care, rules as protection. At the time, it sounded reasonable. Now it sounded planned. The slap in the video was not an accident. It was a slip, a moment where the mask fell. The internet moved fast, but Daniel moved faster. He searched quietly, carefully. Public records, old articles, social posts that had been cleaned but not erased. Adrian's life was built on order, a good job, professional praise, community respect. The kind of life that collapsed if one brick was pulled out at the right place. The idea of revenge did not feel wild. It felt logical. Daniel imagined the look on Adrian's face when everything he valued began to shake. He imagined the calm voice cracking, the confidence fading. That image brought a sense of control Daniel hadn't felt since the wedding photos appeared. For the first time in days, his hands stopped trembling. But control came with weight. Each step deeper made Daniel pause. He wasn't just thinking about punishment. He was thinking about impact. What would happen to Lena if Adrian's world burned? Would she feel free or trapped between shame and fear? Daniel knew how people talked online. He had read the comments. He knew how quickly sympathy turned into blame. Still, anger kept pushing him forward. He wrote notes late at night, planning without committing. He listed truths, half-truths and questions. He imagined speaking out, imagined forcing justice into a place where silence had ruled. Every plan ended the same way, with Lena at the center, fragile and unseen. Daniel's thoughts split in two. One side told him this was necessary. That people like Adrian thrived on quiet and patience. That waiting only gave them time to adjust and continue. The other side whispered that revenge had a cost, and Lena might be the one to pay it. He tried to talk to her again. No answer. No message. Nothing. That silence fed his doubt. It also fed his anger. Daniel wondered if Lena believed she deserved. What happened? That idea terrified him more than Adrian ever could. He thought about how control worked, how it rewrote a person's sense of right and wrong, how love, twisted enough, became a cage that looked like safety from the inside. Revenge promised clarity, a clean line between good and bad, victim and offender. It promised a moment where Daniel could act instead of watching from the outside. The urge to move, to strike back, grew stronger with every quiet hour. Yet, even as the plan formed, Daniel felt something resisting inside him. He wasn't afraid of Adrian. He was afraid of becoming someone who acted without listening, someone who decided for Lena instead of standing with her. He had spent years being her shield, not her shadow. Revenge risked turning him into another voice that spoke over her life. The conflict tore at him. One moment he was sure action was the only answer. The next, he imagined Lena finding out after the fact, realizing he had taken control without asking. That image hurt more than restraint ever could. Daniel walked the city at night to calm his thoughts. Streets hummed softly. Windows glowed with quiet lives. He realized how many people carried private wars behind calm faces. How easy it was to judge from the outside. How hard it was to choose the right kind of courage. He stopped outside a closed cafe and leaned against the glass, breathing slowly. Revenge felt powerful, but it also felt loud. It demanded attention. It demanded damage. Healing, on the other hand, felt slow and uncertain, like walking into darkness without knowing what waited ahead. Daniel asked himself a question he had avoided since the video appeared. Was he doing this for Lena or for himself? The answer shifted every time he faced it. His phone buzzed once. A notification. Not from Lena. Just more noise. More opinions. More judgment. Daniel turned the screen off and slipped it into his pocket. He knew this part of the story mattered more than the outcome. The choice he made now would shape everything that followed. Revenge was easy to imagine. Living with it was another matter. As dawn approached, Daniel sat alone, exhausted but alert. The anger was still there, steady and strong. So was the doubt. They faced each other in silence, waiting. And somewhere between them, the decision began to form. The call came late, when the city had gone quiet, and Daniel's thoughts were at their loudest. His phone buzzed on the table, and for a second he didn't move. He knew who it was before he looked. When he saw Lena's name, his chest tightened, and all the plans in his head went still. Her voice was calm, almost careful. Too controlled. She spoke like someone choosing each word to avoid breaking something fragile. She said the video had been taken out of context. She said people online didn't understand. She said Adrian was under stress, that the wedding pressure had been heavy, that things had gotten heated. She said it once, quickly, like a line she had practiced. Then she said she was fine. Daniel closed his eyes as she spoke. He listened for cracks. He heard them everywhere. He didn't argue. He didn't interrupt. He let her finish. When she paused, waiting for him to agree, he asked a simple question. He asked if she felt safe. There was a long silence on the line. Too long to be accidental. When she finally answered, her voice dropped just enough to reveal the truth without saying it. Daniel's hands clenched. The urge to act surged back stronger than ever. Every careful plan he had built rose to the surface ready. He could end this. He could push the truth into the open. So hard that Adrian would never touch her again. He could make sure everyone saw what he really was. After the call ended, Daniel sat alone in the dark. His phone felt heavy in his hand. Everything he needed was there. Names. Proof. Stories that connected too well to be coincidence. All it took was one message, one upload, one decision that couldn't be undone. He stood and paced the room. Each step felt like it carried him closer to a line he couldn't see, but knew was there. His heart beat fast, not with fear, but with purpose. This was the moment. This was the edge of the cliff. Daniel imagined the aftermath. Headlines. Comments. Strangers arguing over Lena's life like it belonged to them. He imagined Adrian's anger turning inward, then outward. He imagined Lena caught between relief and regret, between freedom and blame. His finger hovered over the screen. Then another image forced its way into his mind. Lena as a child, hiding behind him, trusting him to stand in front of whatever scared her. Back then, protection meant being present, not loud. It meant listening before acting. Daniel realized something painful. Revenge would let him feel strong for a moment. But strength wasn't what Lena needed right now. She needed someone who wouldn't decide her future without her. The room felt too small. Daniel grabbed his jacket and stepped outside. Cold air hit his face, sharp and grounding. He walked fast, letting the movement burn off the rush inside him. The city lights blurred past as he really thought. For the first time since the video appeared, Adrian thrived on control, on quiet, pressure, on keeping everything contained. Public exposure would hit him hard. Yes, but it would also strip Lena of control at the same time. It would turn her pain into a public event, something she had to answer for. Daniel stopped walking. He understood then that revenge wasn't just about hurting Adrian. It was about taking control back, and he could do that without becoming another force that decided things for Lena. He turned around and went back home. When he reached his apartment, he didn't open his laptop. He didn't review his notes. Instead, he picked up his keys and drove across the city. He didn't call ahead. He didn't announce himself. He just showed up. Lena opened the door slowly, surprise flashing across her face. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then she stepped aside, and he walked in. The apartment was quiet. Too quiet. Everything was neat, untouched, like no one wanted to leave a mark. Daniel didn't accuse. He didn't mention the video. He sat across from her and waited. The silence stretched, thick and uncomfortable, until Lena broke. Her voice shook as she spoke, and once it started, it didn't stop. She talked about how things had changed after the engagement. How disagreements turned into rules. How apologies became expected. How she learned to stay quiet to keep peace. Daniel listened. Every word settled into him like a weight, but he didn't look away. She admitted she hadn't invited him because Adrian didn't want him there. She said Adrian thought Daniel asked too many questions, that he made her doubt. Saying it out loud made her flinch. Daniel didn't react. He just nodded, letting her see that the truth didn't scare him. When she finished, Lena looked smaller, like she was waiting to be judged. Daniel made his decision in that moment. He told her he wasn't going to force anything. He told her he wouldn't expose Adrian without her consent. He told her she wasn't weak, and she wasn't alone. He said he would stand with her, not over her. Lena cried then. Quietly but freely. The choice didn't feel dramatic. It didn't feel victorious. It felt heavy and right. Daniel knew walking away from revenge meant accepting uncertainty. It meant trusting a slower path, one without guarantees. But as he sat there, watching his sister breathe a little easier, he understood something clearly. The real battle wasn't about punishment. It was about who held the power to decide what came next. And for the first time since the wedding, that power was no longer in the wrong hands. The weeks after Daniel's choice moved quietly, but nothing felt calm. Change did not arrive with noise or drama. It came in small, careful steps, the kind that could be taken back if fear grew too strong. Daniel stayed close without hovering, present without pushing. He learned that patience was its own kind of strength. Lena did not leave all at once. At first, she stayed with a friend for a few nights, saying she needed space. Adrian called often. His messages sounded gentle, reasonable, almost convincing. He spoke about misunderstandings and pressure. He spoke about love. Daniel watched. Lena listened, her face tight, her hands still. He never interrupted. He waited until the calls ended, then asked how she felt. That question mattered more than advice. Slowly, Lena began to see patterns she had once defended. She noticed how every problem was framed as her fault, how apologies were expected from her alone, how calm words could still carry control. Understanding didn't arrive like relief. It arrived like grief. Accepting the truth meant accepting how long she had lived inside it. The video never disappeared. People stopped sharing it, but they didn't forget. Adrian's perfect image cracked without Daniel lifting a finger. Invitations stopped. Conversations cooled. The respect he relied on thinned. He blamed stress. He blamed rumors. He never blamed himself. Daniel felt the urge for revenge fade in strange ways. It didn't vanish. It softened. Anger turned into something heavier and sadder. He realized revenge had promised a clear ending. Healing offered none. It demanded patience, setbacks, and long nights filled with doubt. One evening, Lena asked Daniel to help her pack. Not everything, just the things that mattered. Clothes folded carefully. Photos placed face down. The apartment felt less like a home and more like a stage set that had lost its purpose. Lena's hands shook, but she didn't stop. They left quietly. Lena moved into a small place across town. It wasn't perfect. The walls were thin. The windows faced an alley. But it was hers. The first night there, she slept with the lights on. Daniel sat on the floor nearby, listening to the city breathe, ready, in case fear returned. Past. Lena began to laugh again, softly at first, then with more ease. She flinched at raised voices. She doubted her own choices. Healing did not move in a straight line. Daniel learned to walk beside her without rushing her forward. Adrian tried once. More. He showed up unannounced, his tone calm, his words careful. Daniel stood between them, not angry, not threatening, just present. Adrian left without shouting. That moment said more than any argument ever could. Time did what revenge never could. It revealed the truth without forcing it. People who mattered began to understand. Some apologized for not seeing sooner. Others stayed silent. Daniel accepted both. He learned that justice did not always look like punishment. Sometimes it looked like distance. One night, Lena asked Daniel if he regretted not exposing everything. The question surprised him. He thought about the nights he had imagined revenge, about the certainty it promised. Then he thought about the quiet room they sat in now, about the steady peace growing between them. He told her the truth. He said revenge would have given him a moment of satisfaction and a lifetime of questions. He said choosing her had cost him that moment, but given him something better. Trust. Lena nodded. She said she was glad he hadn't decided for her. She said having the choice back made her feel human again. Daniel felt something loosen inside him then. A tension he hadn't named finally eased. The future remained uncertain. Healing was still in progress. Fear still whispered sometimes. But the cycle had broken. Control had lost its grip. Daniel understood the lesson only at the end. Revenge had tempted him with power, but it would have chained him to the past. Walking away had not made him weak. It had made space for something stronger. Peace didn't arrive all at once, but it stayed.